feel like I should be wearing a suit for this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Macallan 25-year-old. I don't have the bottle with me. I recently went to a Macallan tasting at the Whisky shop in Manchester, saved a little bit in this bottle, and now we're going to talk to you all about it. Macallan 25, where do you even begin? It's one of the most famous bottles of whiskey in the world. It's one of the most expensive bottles of whiskey in the world, and as a result, it used to sell out really quick, but I don't think it does anymore. It's coming in at £2,000 a bottle in the UK. It's 43% ABV. It's natural colour, but it is chill filtered. And that's kind of the be all and end all of it, really. Here we have some 2024 liquid, I believe this is. And from what I remember of the conversation with the brand ambassador, it was quite a busy room, there was a lot of people talking, so if I get some facts wrong, I do apologise. But this is essentially, it's either 100% European oak or 90% European sherry seasoned oak with a little smidge of American oak in there. No ex-bourbon casks, but possibly some American sherry seasoned oak. Most of you watching this may have tried Macallan 25 before. This is my first time. Well, first time on camera anyway. But let's dive into it, let's smell, let's taste, and let's see what we think. Well, that nose is classic Macallan. That is all of those cherry, cedarwood, really kind of crack open a bag of raisins, you can smell that huge, sweet, sort of compressed aroma. Some really nice orange notes in there. Orange oil, orange skin. There's even like a little note of orange juice as well. The cherry note is quite impressive, I must say. Cherry is one of my favourite flavours in the world, so the fact that I can get this in this is pretty impressive. Would I pay £2,000 to smell cherry? Probably not. But it's certainly floral, it's certainly rich. It is what you expect from an old bottle of Macallan. But I think that's enough on the nose. Let's dive in for the taste. I must say, the oak is very present. I would say this is a very oak-driven whiskey. It does come across as quite dry. There is also that little touch of Macallan sulphuriness in it that I do like in a glass of Macallan. We'll talk about the taste and the finish in a second, but going back to smelling it after having tasted it, you do get less of those sweet aromas, there's less of the raisin, there's less of the cherry. It's more of this sort of resiny, very woody, very oak-driven profile. It does have a very nice finish to it. I can't deny that. It is this constant wave of movement of sherry and wood. You can certainly taste the European oak. It's a spicier, drier type of wood. And it's very chewy and it is very long. I must say, what happens on the palate is a little muted. It doesn't really scream of indulgence and hedonism. It's quite balanced. I think sometimes people can confuse balance for simplicity or for something not being interesting, but I wouldn't call this not interesting. But the flavours certainly don't pop as they do at the front on the nose and then at the end on the finish. In the middle it just seems like a little bit of a lull. But yeah, the finish is wonderfully long. You can tell that is some very, very good quality sherry wood. Let's have another taste and we'll talk a bit more about it. Yeah, more oak, more dryness. Not that that's a bad thing, you should expect that with a 25-year-old single malt. And it does work quite nicely at 43%, I can't deny that. But I do feel like this is just a rich person's plaything. Even talking in the room to some people who were quite well off, even they were a little bit put off by being, well, why would I spend £2,000 on a bottle when I can get 6 bottles of 18-year-old? Which we also bottled up and we have a sample of here. If you want me to review Macallan 18 2024, let us know below, we'll do a review on it. I was just going to save that for myself. The impressive thing about this is the dryness. I was expecting it at 43% to be quite flat, not particularly interesting. But I must say that there is something about this whiskey that does have a charm, a charisma, an intrigue point. But whether or not you think it's worth £2,000 a bottle, I certainly don't think it's worth £2,000 a bottle. I found an old receipt from my work the other week. It was like my first big sale in work, so it's a receipt from over 10 years ago. And it was for a bottle of Macallan 25, and it was £949, about 10 years ago. Maybe even a little bit less than that. I think the total might have been 949. Maybe the Macallan was even like £750. So it's now just under £2,000 a bottle. And even with this taste, which is nice, you know, I was expecting this review to be a bit of a knockout, to be honest. I thought this would be one of those reviews where I just slam this whiskey into the ground and really kind of tread on it. But it's nice, there's nothing wrong with it at all. But, you know, £2,000 for a 25-year-old, if I gave you £2,000, I doubt you would walk out of a retailer with a bottle of this. I bet you would leave with something particularly more interesting. But we'll have another taste, we'll score it, we'll see what's going on. Those oak and dry notes are really becoming more pronounced towards the end. In fact, that's all the finish, to be honest. If I'm not a cigar smoker, but if you were a cigar smoker, I could see how this would pair quite nicely with a lot of things. It has a woody presence to it. And even with me thinking this isn't as bad as I thought it would be, or certainly as underwhelming as I thought it would be, overall the impression is just oak, dryness, that's kind of it. There's some classic sherry notes on it. It's not giving you the most amount of complexity you'd expect from something which is going to empty your wallet by quite a large amount. Thinking about that and thinking how this is purely about oak and dryness and the story of Macallan, which obviously is quite a story. Not going to bore you with it here because we like to keep these videos under 10 minutes these days. But yeah, I think overall it's fine. It's really heavy on oak, which if you are not a fan of that, there are other 25-year-old whiskies that exist that won't do that. Things like Glenlivet 25, Highland Park 25 is not like that, and they're all considerably cheaper. Plus what other options you wanted to throw in there. Things like Benriach 25, which has a little bit of smoke running through it, and I think is actually more balanced than the 30-year-old. You know, the 25-year-old Benriach's only about £420 or something. So you can save £1,600 and have a 25-year-old Speyside at 46% ABV. But overall, not impressed. It does have an elegance to it, it does have a nuance to it, but I really don't think it's worth the price tag. If you can afford to buy a bottle of this and maybe study the whole bottle, awesome, good for you. I can't afford to do that. But I'm going to give that a solid 7 out of 10. It's not really doing a lot for me. It probably wouldn't do a lot for you. But if any of you have tried Macallan 25-year-old of any release, please let me know below. Let me know if I'm very wrong. Let me know if you agree with me. But overall, that's our review on Macallan 25. Thank you all for watching. We have got some amazing reviews coming up in the next few weeks. I cannot wait to share them all with you. If you follow me on Instagram, you'd have seen one of them that's definitely coming up, but I'll keep it a secret on here. And something is arriving in the post tomorrow, which is also very exciting. But I will see you all soon. That was Macallan 25. I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. And yeah, elegance doesn't necessarily mean it's great. But I'll see you all again soon. Cheers.